Hello and welcome to another PlanetDestiny video. Today we will be comparing all of the exotic rocket launchers. To start this off, let's look at all the perks real quick on each of these weapons. Truth's main perks are proximity detonation and aggressive tracking. This is nice because you can choose to dump fire and have a proximity detonation, or just aim down sights and take advantage of the very aggressive tracking. In my original review for Truth, I didn't really have a good grasp on just how awesome this tracking is. Suffice to say, after I played around with Truth a bit more and witnessing this rocket literally go around corners, I kinda take everything back that I said about the tracking not being that unique. It's really great, and it's really the defining feature of the gun. Yellowhorn's perks are tracking and Wolfpack rounds that explode into grenades that also home in on targets and explode for more damage. These perks kind of add up into a weapon that can do some pretty serious damage to a single target or a decent amount of damage to a big pack of enemies. The Wolfpack rounds are really a force to be reckoned with and can completely trivialize some encounters in PvE. Dragon's Breath's perks are Tripod, giving one more rocket in the tube, and Pyromancer. Once these rockets explode, they leave a solar grenade type effect on the ground for 3 seconds. The solar grenade effect does do a hefty amount of damage, but most of the time enemies will only take a few ticks of it before they move out. This rocket launcher does not have any form of tracking, which means you're gonna have to get good at dumbfiring it. Alright, let's compare these weapons in PvE. Do keep in mind that I'm not taking elemental damage type into account here. If Void Burn is active, Truth is clearly the best to use. If Solar Burn is active, then it's really going to be your choice of Dragon's Breath or Yellowhorn. Dragon's Breath actually has the highest fire rate of the rocket launchers at 18, but Yellowhorn and Truth are a close second at 11. The difference is so minute though that you really won't notice it in any fight. The highest blast radius is shared by Truth and Dragon's Breath at 96, while Yellowhorn is substantially lower at 76. This really makes Yellowhorn feel like a single target launcher, but more on that later. Truth and Dragon's Breath large blast radius will clear out substantially larger areas than Yellowhorn. Moving on to velocity, Yellowhorn is the clear winner at 90. Truth's 48 and Dragon's Breath's 39 are substantially lower, but fortunately are upgradable with various muzzles and perks. The velocity is noticeable though in the Crota fight, where Yellowhorn's rounds will crash in much quicker than any of the other rocket launchers. Dragon's Breath does have the lowest velocity when fully upgraded, and it's extremely noticeable, which is compounded by its lack of tracking. Again, more on that later though. Truth has the highest stability at 83, with Dragon's Breath at 66 and Yellowhorn at 58. Stability is something that really doesn't matter on a rocket launcher though, and really not on these. They all have high enough stability that firing off consecutive rounds really isn't a problem. With rocket launchers, you really do want to ensure that your rocket will land on the target, so you're going to be taking more time in between your shots, and stability just doesn't really play into a factor there. Truth again has the highest reload speed at 79, with Yellowhorn at 69 and Dragon's Breath at 52. It is worth noting though that both Truth and Yellowhorn have the Flared Magwell perk that will max out their reloads, but in Truth's case you end up losing out on the increased velocity from Javelin. In PvE, the reload speeds of Truth and Yellowhorn are quick enough that you can dip behind cover or just tank some damage while you reload. Dragon's Breath, on the other hand, is slow enough that you really need to plan your reloads, or make sure your shots destroy whatever's killing you so you can reload in peace. In regards to magazine sizes, Truth shares the largest magazine size with Dragon's Breath at 3. Yellowhorn is capable of holding 2 in the mag as well. Now after going over all those stats, Truth really seems like it would be the better rocket launcher. Pretty much aside from velocity, it has the highest base stats, and the 3 in the mag make it a force to be reckoned with in PvE. Although once you actually use all 3, Yellowhorn becomes an extremely clear winner in PvE. The ideal form of a PvE rocket launcher is something that can keep you out of harm's way and destroy a large portion of enemies, or at least deal one massive blow to a select target. Yellowhorn takes that and just turns it up to 11 with its Wolfpack rounds. The initial blast packs a huge punch, and the follow-up grenades will put a massive dent in any single foe. If you need to clear out a room, the Wolfpack rounds will seek out targets that are normally well outside the blast radius of the other 2 launchers. When spec'd properly, it reloads faster than the other launchers and also gets its payload quicker to your target. Truth though is a very close second. Its tracking, proximity detonation, and large blast radius make it deal some hefty damage in the same circumstances as Yellowhorn. Dragon's Breath just falls behind the other two, mainly because of its lack of tracking. If your target is in any way mobile, you end up having to work a bit harder to ensure the maximum damage from your shot. While its Pyromancer perk does bring the ability to kind of close off areas from advancing enemies, it doesn't really get used that much since enemies will usually just jump out of it or avoid it entirely. Now let's switch gears and talk about the weapons in PvP. In PvP, a rocket launcher can have devastating effects and can easily swing the tide of battle. Of course, this can only happen if the rockets actually hit close to their target. This means that rockets with tracking will have a greater effect in the Crucible since they will require less effort than a dumbfire rocket. With this in mind, let's compare the relevant stats of these launchers in PvP. The only launchers that have tracking are Yellowhorn and Truth. Dragon's Breath Dumbfire simply makes the weapon more difficult to use except on the smallest of maps. Truth also has proximity detonation, which will pretty much ensure that each rocket will land a kill. We know from our PvE comparison that the rates of fire are nearly identical across the board, and really won't have a huge effect on their use in the Crucible. Dragon's Breath has the lowest velocity of all the rocket launchers, which makes it even more difficult to use since it doesn't have tracking. Yellowhorn's high velocity makes it very potent when coupled with its tracking and Wolfpack rounds. Even if someone dodges the volley, the other homing grenades will usually finish them off. Once you upgrade Truth's velocity though, it becomes kind of the winner in the speed category when you couple it with the proximity detonation. Before a round from Yellowhorn would even get to the same target, Truth has usually already detonated. The next relevant stat is Blast Radius. Truth and Dragon's Breath have the largest, with again Truth edging out Dragon's Breath due to its proximity detonation. While Dragon's Breath's large blast radius is nice, it means that enemies are usually dead before the Pyromancer perk can really kill someone. Yellowhorn's blast radius is lower, but can still kill multiple targets provided they are a bit closer to the detonation point. Reload times are worth noting for PvP as well. Truth has the highest baseline, but Yellowhorn users will probably spec for Flared Magwell due to the perks being a bit lackluster in that tree. Either way, Truth and Yellowhorn both have extremely high reload speeds that won't really affect a firefight that much. Dragon's Breath on the other hand has an extremely slow reload speed of 52. And if you find some heavy ammo laying around and choose to reload it into your launcher, it's gonna take a few seconds until you can actually shoot the gun, which gives plenty of time for you to die if you aren't careful. In the end, PvP Truth really wins out due to its extreme tracking and proximity detonation. There have been times where I simply didn't think that a rocket would actually land a kill, but sure enough it flew right around a corner or just curved in a graceful arc across the map into an unsuspecting group of enemies. Yellowhorn is a very close second though. In PvP the Wolfpack rounds aren't as deadly as they are in PvE, where they can easily take out a few enemies by themselves. It's a very reliable rocket launcher for clearing out one single enemy or a very tightly packed group. Dragon's Breath falls into the third place again, mainly due to just no tracking or proximity detonation. Even with the large blast radius and Pyromancer perk, it just really can't compete against Yellowhorn or Truth. It should be stated that all of these launchers are worth leveling up and using. In conclusion though, aside from elemental damage burns, Yellowhorn is the top choice for PvE. Its brutally effective Wolfpack rounds will make short work of any enemy. In PvP, Truth is the winner, but only by a very close margin. The aggressive tracking combined with proximity detonation really makes it worth the exotic slot in PvP. Dragon's Breath really feels like a compromise though, for something to use in both PvP and PvE. It works well, but it's just simply outclassed by the other two exotic launchers. I hope you've enjoyed this comparison video. This has been Patrick Casey with PlanetDestiny, your guide to the Destiny universe.